with what it is, we will do.
Yes, this is Lucien. I wanted to report you a little bit.
Yeah, you are
experiment.
you are my, what do you call it?
Spokesman. Technical spokesman.
I don't have nightmares about you, but I like to see what is cooking in the pot.
Nemesis comes to mind.
No. It's good. Let's see what is in the pot.
Okay, so as you know, from the last, I think, at least 3 workshops, we had together two issues. Number one, covering some copper coil with copper oxide, and after that, putting the sp3 to insulate it and being able to use it into the air. And the 2-unit cell. So basically, I'm removing since about 2 weeks whatever is that on the top. I'm guessing.
Pardon? Repeat that again, please.
So in the last about 2 weeks, I removed from the tanks the upper layer, which is probably zinc, GANs, and some sort of fat thing, protein or whatever is that. Yeah. So what is interesting is that in the other plastic container in which I'm storing the product, the level of the top layer is not increasing. And secondly, into the liquid, I can see, and I will do some pictures and send to the guys and to you, some, how to say, it's like you throw a hand of diamonds into the water. There are some very tiny points that are, I don't know, could be carbon sp3 or hydrogen sp3. They are shining, and it's like, little diamonds into the water. And it's, when you put light into it, you can see it very clearly. So I'm just wondering.
Okay, go back again. What you did? You took the fat from the top layer?
Yes, and the upper layer, which probably is zinc GANs, I guess. It's a layer that is on the top of the water.
Yeah.
And since 2 weeks, I just collect them every day.
Yeah.
So I guess was that in the tank, I'm dropping it. The upper layer should increase in thickness.
Where? The one you separated?
Yes, exactly.
It shouldn't, because when you take the material out of the tank, you stop the process of the information carrying. The rate of the production of that fat on the top is correspondent to the nano gas materials which you release and produce in the liquid according to the current flow in the plasmatic level. So when you take your fat away, there is no increase because there is no production. There is no current flow.
Right, but in the tank, I'm storing the product.
Yeah, because there is no. If you store it in the tank and there is no current flow in the tank, in the liquid or in the fat, you have stopped the process in respect to the condition which was created and it was getting held on to. You have changed the environment with no flow. The fat creation comes from the absorption of the CO2 into the, or by getting the CO2 getting attracted to the water, in the process changing, releasing hydrogen, the nitrogen and the carbon, producing the amino acid. And that is done because of the potential difference in the gravitational magnetic field you create between the direction of the flow of the current. This is something which a lot of, I don't know, maybe it's not understood fully. When you put these systems into one electrode into the other cup and then the electrode to the other cup, you connect them up. Because this is the gravitational magnetic field system, your ganses are literally layers of plasma on top of each other in flat form. One of your electrodes is the south pole and the other electrode is the north pole. There is a flow of plasmatic gravitational magnetic field between the poles, which some of it in reduction becomes weak enough to vibrate the electrons in the other electrode. You don't have a current flow of electrons the way you do in plating. You have the current flow of plasma, and that's gravitational magnetic field they release. So when you take the fat off the top, there is no flow, there is no production, so it will never grow. I'm running what is called, it's 4 bottles in a box, and I think 3 bottles now. And they've been going for 2 years now, what you're trying to do. But I did not leave it in the box on its own. I created the environment of the earth around the boxes. I've shown it to the knowledge seekers, they've seen it. And you lead to production of new condition and environment. You cannot just take it out and leave it there and see what happens. And it doesn't grow. Of course it doesn't grow. Unless it's a plasmatic environment, which the fat becomes part of it. And then what happens? You see crystals in the water where you took the fat off. Hello?
Yes, I said something like little spheres, like diamonds.
Yeah.
So when you put light from a side, they are shining like diamonds in the water.
Yeah, but look at the way they drop and how they start.
They don't drop. They are like a suspension into the water.
No, and
they float.
And that instance, they don't drop. But most of the time, you see them getting created and literally flowing to where they find a balance somewhere near the bottom, and then you get a new one coming. Every single one is a CO2 majority of the time, in the condition of the Earth atmospheric. So the crystals you see is literally, that's why they're bright. That color is part of, like a carbon part of the CO2, but it's actually a molecule Gans, not the atomic Gans magnetic, what do you call it, the strength. If you separate, like if you use, if you're producing copper oxide nanos, if you clearly look in detail in it, you'll find out some CO2 in it. It's not all green. It is partially some others in it.
Okay.
Don't forget, you change the environment continuously. Marco came up with a very logical process a couple of days ago, because we've seen reduction in production of CO2. And Marco said the problem is that we keep on adding salt water to these containers, but it's getting saturated. Plus what we get, evaporation, is becoming a salt lake. So as we take out the material, the concentration of the salt is becoming more, and maybe that's why we are losing, not producing so much. So he decided that from now on he starts adding water without any salt in it, to change the dilution. So maybe now we see a different way in the production. But these are all the conditions you create and the way things are. I've seen this, what you're talking about. Actually, if you take it out, try to get the syringe and take these floating things out and put them in a container, plastic see-through container, collect as much as you can. Then you find out after a few hours or so, they will go down and they settle. And they're white and they're like CO2, if I'm correct. We are running a test with some organizations at the moment. You will find out that most of these materials, what you call GANs, do not, settle. They'll float in the liquid because we were trying to They paid about €500 for testing one test, but we couldn't get the what do you call it, the material in the liquid to settle that the machines could read. If you create the right environmental gravitational magnetic field, these things will float. They are just like stars. Change the salt condition, you'll see you find a different proposition. Just take a syringe and take, that's what we do, take a syringe and take, don't go to the bottom to collect what's in the bottom. Take some from the middle and then collect enough to see that what you see. They are usually to do with what do you call it, with the material which are floating and getting converted coming from the top. The process you have started in your cups is the same process as the Earth. Nitrogen gets built on the top, gets absorbed as a field from the environment of the solar system, and then it floats and comes down, but in a different form of atomic structure. So now you do the same thing, but you create an environment that it stays as a plasma. The threshold is that just the surface which you see the fat. The threshold of conversion from matter to Gans is that layer, that surface. You actually, if you are very, very, very precise, you will see that Gans production does not come into operation till that separation layer is created. It's so fine that you don't see it. But if you start looking around your boxes, you see shadows of it. The CO2 doesn't just jump into the water. It's like it goes through the membrane of that fat, which leads to itself to become the carbon, the protein. It's a very, very, very fine, even in the containers you see nothing, there is still a fine thin layer.
Okay, so the second part of the experiment was to take the copper coils that were coated with copper oxide and, so to speak, excite them with the output from the two saltwater cells. And it is exactly what you said. There is no current.
You start releasing a lot of gases?
No, I connected the coil, the copper coil, which was covered with copper oxide, as a load to the cells. And I was putting an oscilloscope on it. And it's happening exactly what you said. We go to like 1 volts DC, and we have about between 20 to 100 millivolts AC. If you are familiar with the Bedini-Burden device, it's exactly the same spikes as what they're calling pointing vector, pointing energy. So there is, as you said, no current because there is no electron flow current. Is taking the energy either probably from the cups or from the environment. So I will post some oscillograms to the group and to you. So in this respect, you're right. There is energy, but not electron movement.
No, the energy comes through the plasma conversion, and whatever reaches the matter level of the electron will show itself as an electronic, what they call electrical current. But the plasma current is much more powerful if you can do it and you can control it. I will teach you how to do it. It's a beautiful thing. This is why I'm still waiting for our Italian manufacturer of the energy system to deliver us the prototypes. They were supposed to do this week. I doubt it. But that's the process we use, that we walk away from the wire connection. Wi-Fi is an electromagnetic connection of carrying information, or your, what do you call it, wireless system. In the energy system, we use the plasmatic, which is gravitational magnetic field. And the system they're supposed to deliver to us, if God knows whenever they do, is two systems. It's very much, as I said, which this week Marco and Armand been doing. They change energy in one of a certain amount of volume of gas, very small in one, and the other reactor picks it up. If we change or build a system which changes for the present time, for the time being, the plasmatic magnetic gravitational field energy or current into the matter current, you'll find out a very small reactor can supply the whole of your house. The problem is, and I know how to sort it out, to convert once your system receives the energy from your generator to amount of the power you need for your laptops or whatever, and no more. And then you see this behavior of the plasmatic energy is what we talked about before. How many LED lights you could put next to each other and light up. As the system needs it, it supplies it. We did a test a few years ago with a copper cooling system of the laptops. You know how the copper cooling system is just one drop of whatever it is, and it floats between one end to the other, and the fan blows the heat away from the chips. What we did, we we put this cooling system in the nanomaterial, and I cut the pipe, the feeder between the chip and the cooling system, the fans, and nano coated as well. You will find there is more energy in the tube of the cooling system than actually is coming out of the out of the electronic gadget. So in a way you can feed it. You don't need a power supply. The cooling system, if you can convert it into plasma, become the power supply to the chip instead of taking energy from it. But that way, because there's no surplus energy, you don't get heating of the chips either. We've done some tests on this before. I'll try to give that to show to the, if I find it, to the knowledge seekers to put a picture up. The cooling system you have in your laptops, where you hear your fan going, is totally copper, which is connected to the main chip. I don't understand the computer structure, but we had to open it to understand it. And I went and I bought a few to test. You'll find out you can do with much cheaper way to supply and work with these cooling systems, if now you understand the process of nanotechnology. Any other question?
So is that due to being in contact with the chip itself, the cooling system?
You can't put it in contact. You can't contact nanomaterials. You bring them to the proximity. Don't forget, as much as you transfer energy, these nano-coated materials are superconductors. They just don't take information. They take heat too. But because of their atmospheric environment, what we call magnetical, you can never collect them. You can put them as close as you can, but if you look close enough, they create a layer of that. They absorb only magnetic field of what is according to their strength. They're one of the best heat transfers.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, they're not just electronically superconductor, there are heat transfer superconductors too.